When I play our game and then talk, I'm trying, Jennifer.
Rip City, we are back, and this is a insanely special episode. Never in my wildest dreams did I think we would be at episode 100. When we started this podcast, there was no thought in my head that we'd get to 100 episodes, but here we are, 100 episodes in. I got Fawad with me, who's been here since day one. Fawad, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm so glad to be back. It's been a rough couple of weeks, but glad to be back for our 100th episode. Ready to talk some Blazers. We've been playing very well lately. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, it was a killer time for our 100th episode when we have All-Star break, not much happening. We kept putting it off because we're like, well, there's not much happening, and I don't want to just waste our 100th episode on just kind of nothing and filler. So we kept pushing it off, and here we are today. So first and foremost, I want to thank every single one of you. Even if you're not listening anymore, I want to thank you guys for listening and making this a part of your daily routine or your weekly routine, or maybe you save up 6 of them and listen to all 6 of them. I mean, whatever your routine is, I can't even begin to explain how thankful and how grateful I am that you guys even listen. It's a joy to just make these and talk basketball with everybody. So the fact that even one person listens to it blows my mind. But we're so thankful. I don't even know how else to explain it other than just say thank you. I mean, it's 100 episodes. It's a big, for me personally, it's a big milestone. It shows that it wasn't just like a one month, passion project and then drop it. I mean, we've been going at this now for 3 years. It feels like, I think 3 years, I think.
I think so. Yeah. It's a long time.
It's fun. I enjoy it. Sometimes it's hard to talk Blazers basketball. Sometimes it's fun to talk Blazers basketball, but most importantly, it's something I enjoy doing. And so, Fawad, I want to thank you. I know I've said this before, but I want to thank you for doing this with me. It's crazy.
I want to thank you for bringing me on. It's been huge. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity. I'll let you finish your thought though.
No. I mean, I'm grateful for everyone that listens. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for Mike, who started it with us. I'm grateful for Sean. I'm grateful for every single guest we've ever had on here, whether it's the listener episodes where we just have tons of people join in, whether it's, having special episodes with Keith or Chris from the Trailcasters. I'm trying to think of, did we have anyone else from a different podcast? I don't think we have.
We did have one very early on. I don't remember his name, unfortunately. I think it was the Point 9 podcast, possibly.
Oh, yes. Brady from Point 9. Yes, that's right. They don't do the podcast anymore. Yeah. So if you guys are still listening, we appreciate you guys so much for joining us and talking with us and giving us stuff to talk about. But let's jump into this episode. First thing I want to say.
Also,
go for it.
I mean, you covered pretty much everything, but I just wanted to come from me as well. I'm so grateful for everyone that listens. Like, sometimes I honestly think we're just recording and no one listens, and then I'll see like someone will message us on Discord and just say it was a good episode, and it just like, it's insane to me that people actually listen to us. Every single time someone comments that they've listened to it, let alone like complimenting us, just the fact that they listen to it at all, it's just unbelievable. So grateful to have had these 3 years and 100 episodes. So all the guests that you mentioned, like, it's crazy that we have people who are actually associated with the Blazers come on our podcast. That's unbelievable to me. Shout out Coach Yim, shout out Brooke, shout out Jason Quick. Just unbelievable that we actually made it here, and we've had some good times as well.
And truly, shout out Chris Burkhardt too, because he part of the radio broadcast. He's part of it, and even Keith at times has been part of it too. So I mean, the Blazer community. That's the great thing about having this smaller market team, is you're like, this community feels so much more like a community instead of just like fans of a team. Like, it really does feel like we're all part of like one big family together. And
Yeah,
so
we've actually made friends through this.
100%. And to segue into this,
One last
since
shout out.
oh yep,
I don't unfortunately I don't remember his actual name, but Die Mad. Shout out to him. We've had some good
yes,
conversations with him as well.
yes, of course. Yeah, he's been on a couple episodes actually. Um, we, well, not we, me personally, I have not been to a Blazer game since the year we beat the Clippers in the playoffs. I went to the game we beat the Clippers in the playoffs. That was the last game I've been to. I can't even remember when that was. I want to say it was like 2015 or 2016.
Oh wow.
So that's the last game I've been to, and I only live 3 hours south of Portland, and I'm not the biggest fan of driving. I hate driving long ways, and 3 hours isn't long, but for me it feels like 20 hours. But my family and I are going to be going to Disneyland next weekend, and we are heading up to Portland a day early just to kind of get up there. So I will be attending a game with my wife and my daughter for the first time. My daughter, we're going to be going to the Knicks
Almost
game.
10 years then.
I know, right?
Wow.
It's been a long. I mean, we had Mason Plumlee, we had. I'm trying to remember. I think we had Mo Williams on our team at the time. I mean, it was a long time ago. Blake Griffin and all of them were still on the Clippers.
You gotta try
It
to do
was
something
long.
special for that.
Yeah, so we are going to be going to the Knicks game. I'm excited to have my daughter come there and watch a game for the first time. I'm excited just to be there. But most importantly, if there is any of you that is listening right now and that normally goes to the games or is planning to go to this Knicks game, please, please, please reach out to me either on Twitter, on Discord, Reddit. I mean, whatever it is, I would love to at least say hi, shake hands, give hugs. I know Keith's going to be there, so I'm excited to see Keith. I haven't actually met Keith in person, but I can't wait to give that man a big hug because, we've been hanging out, playing games, talking for 2-3 years now, and it's only right now to finally at least get to see these people that I've been talking with. So I'm excited to be at this game. It should be a good game, but yeah, I had to announce that if anyone's going to be there, please let me know. I would love to at least say hi and see you guys. But let's hop into this episode. I'm excited to talk. There's a lot to talk about. The very first thing I want to talk about, and this is all going to kind of tie in together. But this is the first thing I wanted to talk about because it's something I feel like it's underappreciated and it's something that's getting overlooked by a lot of the NBA. Maybe not Portland fans, but a lot of the NBA. Toumani Camara is an absolute beast. And I mean, this is no news to any of us. We've said this 100 times. Defensively, and honestly, he's playing better offensively too, but defensively,
Yeah, it's coming around.
this man is just single-handedly like making the I've always enjoyed players that do hustle plays, and I've loved Wesley Matthews, and this Toumani is just, dude, we are so lucky we got him in that trade. It was just a throw-in. I am so happy we got him. This dude, and this is what I wanted to talk about, Fawad. The disrespect that we're getting with him on defensive player of the year. I mean, I don't know if they take into winning as an account for defensive player of the year, but to me, if you're good defensively, that doesn't equate for your entire team. So if your team isn't winning because for other reasons, like we can't hold that against one player defensively. Like if you have a dude scoring 60 points a game and they had offensive player of the year, but you lose all these games, but he's scoring 60 points, like you have to acknowledge that this dude is the offensive player of the year. Toumani gets so many stops defensively, either drawing charges, causing offensive fouls, just playing great defense in general. Like how is he not in the conversation of defensive player of the year? When we were
Honestly,
watching go for it.
in the last 2 weeks, I feel like he's getting into the conversation now. I'm hearing lots of people around the
Yes.
league, like not Blazers fans, not Blazers media, know his name now. That I think he's in the conversation for at least all defense team, not defensive player of the year.
Sure.
But his name's getting out there now.
Well, and he just won defensive player of the month.
Exactly.
That just came out, which props to him. He deserves it. But watching the Cavaliers game, and they were talking about how I believe it was Evan Mobley, I think is now supposed to be the favorite for defensive player of the year. I feel like that's what they were saying on the broadcast. And they were talking about how many more defensive stops Toumani has got. Like it was like 66 more defensive stops than Evan Mobley. So it's like if that's who's supposed to be the next defensive player of the year now because Victor went, unfortunately had his issue. How is someone who has even more defensive stops not being mentioned as like a defensive player of the year? Like you think about Marcus Smart, right? He was a defensive player of the year. You think about Tony Allen. Like the only thing in my head I can like juggle is it's because our team isn't winning, and that's why. I mean, Fuad, how do you feel? Is Toumani defensive player of the year? Like candidate
So
at least?
I think he's for sure a candidate. He's been amazing. Like I'm not even gonna repeat all of what you said. He's one of the best defenders in the league, if not the best defender. He can guard every single possession. But like I think, like I said, in the last 2 weeks to a month, I think he's been getting a lot more credit than before. Thinking basketball, that YouTuber, he did a video on him that I think gave him a lot of attention. Now he's winning Defensive Player of the Month. I'm seeing like NBA media, not just Blazers media, talking about him. So I think there's his his narrative, his campaign. It's picking up. I think I think for sure he'll get a significant amount of Defensive Player of the Year votes. Um, I think part of it, like you have to just factor in the tax of not just being a not winning team, because whatever. I think it's more the fact that we're Portland and no one watches us. I think that's the bigger factor.
Mm-hmm.
If you on obviously Lakers, maybe like a New York, I think he would be a lot more favored. But I think it shows how good of a defender he is that he's a Portland team that's not in the playoffs yet, anyways, and people are still talking about him. So I think that's a great sign. I think for sure he makes an all defense team. I'm hoping he is at least competitive for Defensive Player of the Year, but I could see it going to, like you said, Mobley. Also, Dyson Daniels is number 1 on the defensive stops list, the only guy above Toumani.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. So actually, I want to talk about it a second because I pulled it up right as you were talking about it. So it's NBA leaders in defensive stops, which define as offensive fouls drawn or charges, steals, or blocks recovered by the defense. And I saw also another stat that included missed shots as well. The one I'm looking at right now doesn't, but he has 180, which is good for second. Daniels is ahead by quite a bit. He's at 197, but Dyson Daniels and Toumani Camara. Those are the two guys, and then everyone else is like way lower. So those are the two guys that they get the most stops in the league. So there was another one. I don't remember where exactly where he ranked, because they included shots, and again he was like for sure near the top, if not number 1 himself. But like whatever metric he used, he's one of the best defenders in the league. He can guard any position. His help defense and IQ is unbelievable.
Yes. So that's what I was going to add on to what you were saying is, like you have Mobley. Now, I could be totally wrong, and I could have misheard what they were saying on the broadcast, but I swear they were saying Mobley is now the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. Like Toumani,
like the betting
guard is okay, and maybe that's what they were saying. Toumani guards the best player 99% of the time, unless it's like a massive big man, right? Like unless it was like Joel Embiid or something. Whereas Mobley isn't necessarily guarding the best player 24/7. And I will be the first to admit I don't watch a lot of Dyson Daniels. I don't even know. Is he still on the Pelicans?
No, he's on the Hawks now, and I think he's leading the league in steals by like an insane margin.
Okay, so and if that's the case, then I'm gonna guess he's probably guarding the best player majority of the time as well. But to me, it's like those type of things where you're guarding the best player who's gonna have the ball a ton. And if you're watching the Blazer games, Toumani plays excellent defense. It is very rare that he's getting beat. Majority of the time, they're just making tough shots, and that's fine. You live with that. If you're playing good defense and they make a tough shot, props to them. Go down the court. So to me, it's like I don't even know how you can say Evan Mobley is Defensive Player of the Year when you have people like Toumani and Dyson Daniels who are guarding players constantly. Toumani is probably where he's getting hurt is he's not getting blocks and he's not getting like a ton of steals. But he's affecting the game in so many other ways that where Mobley is more defense, like blocks and, affecting shots at the rim. I don't know, man.
To play
agree with
devil's
you.
advocate quickly,
Sure, please.
I do think that bigs inherently are more effective on defense
Yes.
because like they're the last stop. Like if you get by a guard, you still have to face the big. So I understand that that's why most defensive player of the year awards go to a big man. But Toumani is still in that position a lot where he's the last defender that the offensive player has to beat. And then I was just looking something up quickly. You mentioned Blazers are not the best defense. Interestingly enough, since kind of our turnaround, which was January 19th, that's when we started going on that 10-1 run. So January 19th till now, about 6 weeks, maybe a little bit more. We're actually the number defense in the league. So
Which number? You said number 1?
2.
Number 2? Hey,
yeah,
I take it.
Lakers are the first apparently. So that's again, Toumani's our best player, and now we're the number 2 offense over the last a month and a half. That's impressive. He's just he does everything, and we're not even talking about his offense right now or his rebounding, which is a whole separate conversation. We're strictly talking about his defense right now. If you haven't seen that Thinking Basketball video, you should definitely watch it. Like I watched Toumani almost every single game that I can, and even I was still impressed. I was just like, watch his defensive highlights all day long. Unbelievable. He's such a smart player.
When that trade went down, everyone's looking at Ayton as the big player in that deal. I'm going to tell you right now, to me, it actually might be Kamara's the biggest player in that deal.
Oh, but it's not even close.
Like there is
now, if you're talking.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, back then, obviously no one knew really who he was, what he could be. But I mean, good Lord, how lucky are we? I know Phoenix is pissed that they got rid of him.
We're so lucky. It's crazy.
But let's segue this in. I just wanted to give props to Toumani. I want to make sure everyone knows in my head, like, granted, I don't watch Dyson Daniels a lot, so that he very well could be just as deserving. But in my head, I'm like, Toumani does so much. Like, if you take him off of our team, that I think is as detrimental as losing any other big name player. If you said Simons or Scoot or Sharpe, like he is just as important, if not the most important player on our team. And it's kind of how I felt about Wesley Matthews the year where he tore his Achilles. Like, we still had Dame, we still had Aldridge, but the fact that I felt Wesley Matthews was kind of like that, I don't want to say heart and soul, but like he was what was pushing us every game. He was making all the sacrifice plays, the big hustle plays. Like, that's how I feel with Toumani. Like, this dude, God, man, I love watching him play basketball.
Works
so hard. He's never tired. He is always working. He frustrates players. He gets them in foul trouble. Like, how can you not love watching him? It's madness. But let's segue into this here. We have been playing very good basketball, even against some better competition in the West. We've played good. We are playing the East a lot more, so obviously we're winning a lot more. But let's be honest, Cleveland tonight just won their 11th game in a row. It took them an overtime to beat us.
And we had an 18-point lead against them.
Yep. And some questionable calls at the end. Granted, we had some questionable calls at the beginning, but shout out to Denny, who's been playing very good. He had his first triple-double. I mean, he had 30, 12, and 10 that game against Cleveland. We're playing weaker West or East teams, and we've played a couple stronger West teams, and we've played pretty good for every game. I mean, obviously we had that massive blowout against Charlotte where we won by like 60, something like that, something crazy, 50 something. But something else I have to say, trying to stay true to the name of our podcast, being unbiased. I have been very, very hard on Simons all year. I've been we got to get rid of Simons, and I still believe we need to, but since the All-Star break, at least, he has been playing pretty good basketball. I mean, where he's lacking defensively, he's at least making up for it on the offensive end, where beginning of the year, that wasn't happening. It was bad offense and bad defense. So it was just like negative the entire time he was out there. He's playing much better. There's a lot going on right now. I mean, I have
There's
to
a lot
give,
going right.
yeah, I have to give props to Chauncey. I mean, granted, I fully understand we're playing a lot of the Eastern teams, right? I fully understand that. But even, playing Cleveland, Philadelphia isn't necessarily like a horrible team, but Philadelphia, we're at least
This was
being
pretty close as
competitive.
well.
Which one?
The Lakers game it went down to like the last
Yep,
like
the
2-3
Lakers
minutes.
game. The Lakers game was close. Yep. So yeah, I mean, we're playing well. We're playing really well. Props to Chauncey. I mean, he's got some stuff going on right now that the team's gelling well together. Sharpe's playing pretty good.
Was playing great.
Actually, pretty good is not. Lately he has been playing very, very, very good. Like the Sharpe that we want to see. But before we jump into Sharpe, because that's where we're gonna talk about Sharpe in just a little bit. Fawad, you had a question. So
Yes.
why don't you? I want you to start off with it. Go for it.
You want me to give my thoughts?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, sure. So what I was asking Alex just before we started recording is that I feel like one of the biggest debates going on in Blazers Twitter, Blazers Reddit is we are playing very good lately. That's obvious. We are the 11th seed. Do we want to make the playoffs? Do we want to get that 10 seed, try to win those 2 playing games to get that 8 seed? Or is it better to, maybe not tank, but just hope that we too many more games and we get as best a draft pick as we can? So where do you stand on that debate?
At the start of the year, obviously I was all for, I'd felt like our team wasn't really there, and, getting a player like Flag, or in my opinion, if you're not getting number 1, then the number 2 pick is Ace Bailey. And that's actually who I would be just as excited to get as Cooper Flag. But at this point, we've won too many games where I feel like we don't have a good chance of getting 1 or 2. And I don't see either of those 2 players going farther than 2. So to me, the way we've been playing lately, I am 100% fine with going all in and then just trying to make the playoffs. And if we don't make it, at least being competitive, building good winning habits. We're still the second youngest team. I think if we were to move Jeremy Grant, we probably instantly become the youngest team. So it's like, there's not, I don't foresee getting a top 3 through 10 pick making us that much better than just trying to make the playoffs and enjoying this year the rest of the way. So for me, if I had it which way we would go, I would say just go for it and try to make the play in and at least make it interesting. What about you?
Yeah, for me, I can never be unhappy with us winning games. I don't think there's that many things in the world that make me happier than seeing the Blazers win a game. So I want us to do as best as we can. There is one complication with making the playoffs, which I understand is pretty significant. If we do make the playoffs, not just the play-in, our pick goes to Chicago. So I understand that aspect of it, but that would probably be unfortunate. But then the argument with like some people who are anti, even play-in, saying they want as best of a draft pick, but like you said, once you're past those top 2 guys, 7 versus 10 really make a difference. I don't think so. Even if we get the top 13, I think like 5 to like 14 is pretty much relatively equal odds of picking a guy. There's been lots of all-stars at the 13th pick. I want to see us win games. I want to see us make that play, at least win the first play-in. Second one, we can see what happens. And then people say that we need more talent, which I agree with. But at the same time, if this team, this super young team, is already making the playoffs, if they're that good to make the playoffs in a very, very competitive West, who's to say that talent isn't already here? If they're winning this many games, does that not show that we are talented? So it's just like I want to see us do as good as possible. I want to see Toumani keep this up. I want to see Shade and Sharpe keep this up. Like these guys are our future. The more reps they get with competitive winning basketball, if they're in the play-in, that's huge for their development. They're
Mm-hmm.
gonna play in a high stakes game where it's winner go home. So you can't get more high stakes than that. Even if we lose, which I guess maybe I'm willing to concede that losing in the play-in is the best outcome. Still, so much experience for those two guys, not just those two guys, the entire team for clinging for everyone. That's huge for us. That's a very positive note that we can take into the off season and into next season. So I'm all for making the playoffs. I want to see us do as good as possible. If we can go, uh, I don't know exactly what we need to go, but if we just need to overcome this 4-game gap against probably the Mavs, who are the 10th seed right now, which I think is very doable. Which
Well,
considering Kyrie
yeah.
unfortunately got hurt, so
Yep.
I think it's 100% in the cards that we can make the playoffs. So we can make the play-in as the 10 seed. Honestly, there's a chance we even go higher than the 10 seed, but let's aim for the 10 seed for now. I'm 100% down.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about this real quick, right? We are 28-34. The Suns are 28-33. You got Dallas, who just lost Kyrie, unfortunately, and it sounds like they're probably going to shut down Anthony Davis at that point.
Yeah, that just came out today, I think.
So really, Dallas probably is not going to be in the play-in anymore. They're going to probably drop. The Kings are 32-28. They're so hit or miss. They're playing good sometimes. They're playing bad sometimes. They've been playing a little bit better as of late, I feel like. So,
Unfortunately.
who knows there? So really, the 10th, at least at bare minimum, the 10th seed is very obtainable. Very obtainable. I mean, San Antonio Spurs is 25-34. I do not foresee them going above us. I mean, I know they got Fox, but I highly doubt without Wemby that they're gonna be better.
Better than I thought they would without Wemby, but yeah, they're not gonna overcome us. Suns, I think after today, by the time this episode comes out, I think we should be ahead of them in the standings.
Yep.
'Cause they're down like 16 right now, and I think if they
And
lose, we jump them.
looking at the last 10 games for these teams, right? Suns are 2-8. They're about to be 1-9 because I think the Suns are going to lose. We're 5-5. Dallas is 5-5, which I'm sure that's going to start going down because of the injuries. The Kings are 7-3. Like I said, I think they've won like 4 or 5 in a row. So like they're playing good. The Clippers, I don't know what to think.
Wolves are both 4-6.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about the Clippers. Like Norman, I hate seeing Norman Powell playing so good. I love him.
But he's hurt, isn't he?
He might be. I don't know. He's just been playing such good basketball for the Clippers, and it's just like, man, we had him, and we didn't execute the way we should have with him. But yeah, I mean, really, the Clippers are 32-28 as well. So I mean, they're just as close to us as the other 9 and 10 seeds, and then Minnesota's a couple wins ahead of them. So it's gonna be a fun close to the season.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be fun to watch this, race to the playoffs. So Norman Powell has been hurt for about 2 weeks. He came back yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago. But it looks like he re-aggravated it, so he might be out for some time as well. So that's what I'm saying. Not only is 10 open, maybe even 9 seed is open.
Yeah. So there is lots of room to jostle around here. I truly believe the Mavs will not be in the play-in by the end of the year, and that leaves Phoenix or us, because the Spurs could sneak in there, but
I don't see it happening for the Suns at all. I think Mavs even still finish above the Suns.
And that is very, 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 very highly possible. I mean, the Suns are just in pure desperation mode right now. I mean, it is madness what's going on there. So yeah, exciting basketball, exciting future lined up for us. Like like you were saying, making the playoffs is just great for the team itself. But on top of that, it's going to be very good for Chauncey Billups. If he can get this team to at least make the play-in, it's going to be very good for him to find another coaching job. I still am strong believer in not extending him and re-signing him. Like, just Thanks.
The only concern, which I didn't consider until now, if we make the playoffs, does that mean we keep Chauncey around?
I,
I hope
I,
not, but
I hope. I hope just squeaking into the play-in doesn't count for the last 4 seasons. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but who knows? Who knows?
I guess that might be okay. I think he has a option on his year. I guess I wouldn't be opposed to picking up the option and then maybe seeing how next season goes early on. But yeah, I hope we move on from him. Even though,
I
like, props to him, he's done well
Yeah,
with this team this
no.
year.
I mean, it has definitely been an improvement from what we saw at the beginning of the year and previous years. I 100% agree with you. But let's
Also,
get
something.
into
Sorry,
go.
I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but we're like very early on. I feel like it was like the third episode of the season for us. I told you and Sean that my hot take is that we're gonna make the playoffs, and I was like half joking, but I was like half serious. Now it's very well like in the realm of the possibilities this
Mhm.
late in March. That's already a successful season for us.
And
It's even
all
a
honestly,
conversation.
that's where you want to be playing your best basketball is March and April, and
Mm.
letting it happen and seeing where you're at. So we're playing good defensively. Our offense is coming around. Um, for those of you who don't watch and just listen, which I highly doubt any of you do that, but DeAndre Ayton has been hurt, so we've been getting a lot more cling-in time. Duop Reith had a great game last night. Was that last night or 2 nights ago? Might have been 2 nights
I think
ago.
he's at two. Yeah, they might have been 2 nights ago, but he had like two good games in a row.
Yeah.
One of those games was really, really good though.
Well, and last year he played a lot, and we liked what we saw from him. And like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, you kind of get a backlog with Robert Williams and Ayton and Klingen, and it's like Duabriez kind of gets pushed to the side. But he came in 2 nights ago, I think it was 2 nights ago, and played great for us. Hit some big shots, made some good stops. I mean,
Oh, it was
you
actually last night, but the
was it
one before
last
that
night?
was also good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's right, because it was an
but
early
yeah,
game. That's right. That's why. So yeah, I mean, Duop's played great for us. But let's talk about something when
Klingen's
we
been good too.
Klingen's been playing good. He got in foul trouble against the Cavs,
That
so he
one
didn't get
game
to
was
play a
pretty
lot.
rough.
Yeah, but other than that, he plays double doubles and yeah, he's such a big dude. He's so huge and long arms, and a lot of
His
people aren't used to
presence
that.
it affects teams a lot.
And the connection that Scoot has with him, like the amount of lobs to him and feeding it down low to him, I love watching that.
Even
But let's
even Toumani's been throwing a couple lobs to him lately.
when you have a
There were
guy
a
that
couple.
instead of like fading to the free throw line like DeAndre does and going straight to the basket, like that opens up so much more, I feel like, than these little mid-range shots that
Yeah.
DeAndre loves to shoot. But let's get to something a couple episodes ago. I said I had a take I wanted to talk about with Shaden Sharpe, and I'm sure glad we didn't talk about that because since then he's been playing a lot better. But there was a time where I was getting a little nervous. Like not nervous as in like he's a bust or something, but like just I felt like he doesn't he doesn't
He hadn't improved as enough as much as you wanted him to, basically.
yeah, like he wasn't showing these jumps. He wasn't showing these something I've noticed with him, and this may just be him. He's very like sleepy eyed looking. Like he doesn't look like he's
Mm.
super engaged the entire game, even when the game is like intense and he's trying. It just he looks, and maybe that's just because how athletic he is. Just everything looks so easy to him. But one thing I have to give him props for before we get into this is last night the game he towards the end of the game when it was close, he turned the ball over. I think it was like on a dribble handoff or something. He turned the ball over. And this is the first time, and I will admit before I say this, I don't like watch every single game from opening tip to the ending tip. I watch a lot of it, but I don't. This is the first time I have ever seen him dive for the ball while the other player still had it, and he made this hustle play that got the ball back. And we didn't end up losing possession of it. I don't know if we scored or not, but that type of thing 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, there's no way in hell I would have expected him to do that. And so to see him do that last night, I was like, oh, hell yes. On top of the absolute madness dunk he had against, who was that? Why am I drawing a blank?
The name's slipping me
Was
too.
it Brooklyn or was it Washington?
Oh, the team, I think it was Washington. Yes, it was Washington.
Yeah, it was Washington. That dunk.
I don't
Oh
remember the
my.
player.
Oh god, that was nasty. That was nasty. I there's no way no
One
one
of the
has not
best
seen
dunks I've
that.
ever seen.
Yeah, I mean that was just he against Washington he had 36 points. Against Brooklyn he had 25 points.
I think the
Aust-
36 was the career high too, right?
yeah, 36 was his career high. He's been playing so much better these last couple games, and I have to believe this is how it's going to segue into your question you had. I have to believe that this has to do with Jeremy Grant not playing and him getting, more minutes, getting starter minutes. I believe he's starting. I don't feel like I've seen him come off the bench lately since Grant's been out.
Yeah, he started the last 3 games.
And so you had asked me, or you had stated you wanted to talk about Sharpe. Should he be coming off the bench or starting? So I want to throw it to you first. How do you feel about Sharpe?
Okay, wait, how do I feel about Sharpe as, a future player or in terms of starting versus bench?
Starting or the bench, and future
Okay.
player if you want to talk about that too.
I feel like that's the longer conversation. Maybe I'll leave that for the end or maybe another episode. But the short answer is I'm very high on him. In terms of him starting or the bench, like I obviously prefer him to start. Um, I don't hate the decision to bench him to try to force him to play better defense because I think he has been a little bit lazy on defense at times. So if that's a tactic to try to force him to play a little harder, I don't hate that. But I think Chauncey's been giving him a little bit too tight of a leash. A small mistake and he'll bench him for pretty much the rest of the game. So that's been really really annoying. But I think generally, as long as he's playing 30 minutes, I don't really care if he comes off the bench or if he starts. It seems like he plays a lot better when he is starting. So hoping that he, I think I'd prefer to see him keep starting for a while. Um, Not lost on any of us that Grant has been out this whole time, opening the floor, opening up the ball, uh, for Shaden to take over. I think this is good. I think Shaden's also one of those players that the more touches you give him, the better he'll play. So again, when he's on the floor, whether that's off the bench or starting, I think he needs to play a lot and he needs to get a lot of touches. Whenever he plays aggressive, I think he plays a lot better. So I hope that the rest of the season, this lineup that we've been playing with these last couple of games, which is Ant starting, Shea, Toumani, Denny, and Klingon, I feel like that's been a really fun lineup. So I wouldn't
100%.
mind carrying that out for the rest of the season. Jeremy's been kind of roughly, at least even when he's healthy again, he's been needing his minutes have been cut for a while now. I would I don't see Chauncey doing this, but I would like to see Jeremy come off the bench for a bit, or if
100%.
not, at least cut his minutes a little bit. But regardless, Aiden Sharpe, I prefer that he starts. He's clearly playing a lot better now that he is starting, but as long as you give him 30 minutes, I'm not going to complain too much.
No, and something you said that I want to agree with you and bring a little bit more to it is I have noticed the same exact thing you stated where, Sharpe definitely is lazy defensively. But like you stated, it's the weirdest thing where like one defensive lapse or one little mistake pulled right away. Yet we will roll out with Simons consistently over and over and over and let him get it taken advantage of defensively, especially in late game scenarios. And it's like, is it solely just because it looks like Simons is trying hard on defense that will just keep him in there? And to be fair, and I'll say this right now, Simons has improved a little bit defensively, but it's not to the point where you would even be like, okay, yeah, he's decent defensively. Like he's still getting taken advantage of. He's still too small. He's not strong enough. But the only thing I can tell a difference in between him and Sharpe is that he looks like he's putting more effort defensively than Sharpe does. So I agree with you. It's weird to me that coach just pulls him immediately, and maybe something behind closed doors has been said where his expectation is if you're not going to try hard defensively, like then I'm pulling you, and it's been well known. Then I think that's fair. If Sharpe knows that he's going to get pulled if he's not trying hard or hustling and showing effort, then that's on Sharpe. So I agree with you. It's weird. I've since we drafted him, obviously we wanted to trade the pick back when we first had it, but since having him, like I enjoy Sharpe and I think he can be a very good player. So I would love to see him start. I would love to see him get minutes, and I agree with you 100%. I think Grant needs to come off the bench. Grant has been a bad streak isn't even a good word for it. It's been rough. It's been real rough. And I love Jeremy Grant, so I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm right there with you, Fawad.
I like him a lot too. He had a slow start to the season, but I was like, he'll come around. But it's been 60 games now, and he's still. Yeah, it's a little rough out there.
There really hasn't been a game like at least a string, maybe 2 or 3 games where you're like, oh hell yeah, Jeremy Grant's back. Like, okay, here we go. This is the Jeremy Grant. Like you get one okay, like pretty decent game, and then it's like back to being subpar, and you're like, what the hell's going on? And then you get a decent game and back to subpar. So I don't know what's going on.
I'm not sure if he's string together 2 good games since like I don't know, maybe the very start of the season.
Yeah, and you know what? Looking ahead, looking at our schedule here, Boston, Oklahoma City, 2 tough games, right? Detroit, who's been playing very good.
If we win even one of those 2 tough games, I will be so happy.
Yep, both of these are away games. This is one of those stretches where we're like 8 games in a row on the road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 games on the road.
7, and someone said 9 games in 9 cities. So I don't know how that works. They're counting Portland twice. I don't know.
So yeah, Boston and Oklahoma City, tough games, but the way we've been playing lately, very winnable. At least one of them. Or at least winnable and maybe not be the right choice. Competitive is what I meant to say. Very competitive games. Win or lose, as long as it's competitive.
At least you can't chalk it up as a loss beforehand.
Yeah, correct. Detroit's going to be a tough game. Golden State has been playing really good with Jimmy Butler lately, so that's going to be a tough game. New York will be an interesting game. That's the game I'll be at, so I'll be cheering us on to win. So yeah, I mean, these next couple games are going to be really important games against some good teams. So I think winning against Detroit will be big. We need to win that game, and I would love to beat Golden State. If in these next 4 games, if we can go 2-2, I would love that. I would take 2-2 against these next 4 games. So yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah, I don't really. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really wanted to talk about. We've been getting some Jabari Walker minutes because, with Ayton being out.
A little bit better.
He's been playing better. Scoot has been playing better. He's still shooting the ball pretty good, Fawad. We talked about this a couple. We talked about
episode where since that one episode where I kind of said he wasn't great, his shot since that episode has been unreal.
Yeah, and we talked about he had that game where he hit 8 of 10 threes or whatever it was, and we're like, that his numbers are up right now, but they'll probably go back down. They really haven't gone that much farther down.
He's taking pull threes now too.
Yeah, I mean he's playing good. Sharpe's playing good. Denny's playing good. Simons is playing good. Klingen's playing good. There's Toumani, obviously he's playing great all year long. So it's exciting basketball right now. Yeah, we're not winning every game, but we're being competitive in majority of these games, and I've really enjoyed these last games. These last pretty much since the All-Star break and a little bit before the All-Star break, but really, it's been fun. It's been real fun.
Yeah, one more thing I want to talk about with Toumani. We talked a lot about his defense, but his offense. So I just saw this right now. Since the All-Star break, which I think is probably 7 games, he's averaging 16 points, assists, 60% true shooting, 53.9% from 3. He's over 50% from 3, which is crazy. He's shooting, I think, about 3.5, 4 a game. And if you want to say that's a small sample size, we can extend that like a lot more, and then his numbers only drop a little bit. I actually think I just closed it, but it was something like the last 16 games or something like that. He's shooting 49% from three, and averaging 13 points. So he's not just amazing defensively. His offensive game is coming around too.
I mean, if you're getting
He's starting to pass a
16,
little bit more too.
yeah, if you're getting 16 points out of arguably one of the best defensive players in the NBA, shooting a high percentage like you said he was, I will take that all day. I would gladly take 16 points from him a game. Like that I think right now he's averaging 10 points like over the whole entire season, 10 points a game, right? So two
Yeah.
more made threes a game to get you to 16, or three more made twos. Like, I mean, you 6 points is that's a big difference. So he's been playing great defensively, and he's playing just as good offensively, making big plays on both ends. So yeah, I love it. Love that.
Yeah,
Do you
so
have anything
last
else?
17 games. No, not really. Do you have anything else? I have one quick comment that's
Go
not
for it.
really Blazers related. So I don't know if anyone. I think I've talked about this in the past, but Collins is like he's been one of my favorite Blazers when he was here. Still follow. I usually follow most Blazers when they leave the team, but he kind of fell out of the rotation with the Spurs, and he got traded to the Bulls at the deadline.
I
And
didn't even know he got traded.
since he's been on the Bulls, he's been like really good. I don't have the averages including today's game where he dropped another 20. The 7 games since he's been with Chicago, he's averaging 12, which sounds like not a lot, but a lot of those games were 20-point games or like 16, 18. 8 rebound, 8 not reboards, 8
Reboards.
rebounds. And for him who doesn't even rebound that much, like 8's, a pretty
Eight's good.
significant number
Yeah,
for him.
eight's good.
Uh, and sorry, 30, oh no, actually no, his 3-point percentage is not great, 26%, but his field goal percentage is the highest of his career in this short span. And his first few games with the Bulls, he was like not really getting minutes. So if you look at the last 4 games tonight, he's averaging 18, 10, 4 on 58 from the field and 31 from 3. So shout out Zach Collins. I still believe in him. He's playing really good at these last 4 or 5 games. And wants to start watching Bulls games, you have a reason to do so now.
I did not even know he got traded, so that was news to me. You brought him up, and then it made me think. Just the other night, we had some former Blazer news. Myers Leonard hanging it up, retiring. First and foremost, I did not know he was a country singer, and he put out a song. And in all honesty, it's a good song. It's a not only does he sound good, like he sounds like a good singer, but like the song itself was a good. He tied in his whole entire career in a song, and it was an enjoyable song. So if you guys have not heard it, check out his Instagram. He posted it on there. We give a lot of Myers Leonard got a lot of, I wouldn't say hate, but I think mostly just because of the contract he got is why most Blazer fans were annoyed by him. But you know what? This is what I'll say. When he played hard. He made some good plays for us, and he wasn't a terrible player. But I will forever, like when I think of him, be happy and just remember that last game against Golden State. Like him just going absolutely nuts. Like I will never think of him for anything else other than that
25
game.
points and a half of a Western Conference Finals game.
Yeah, I mean,
not a lot of people in the NBA can say they've done that.
You love it. You love to see it. It was kind of his. I have to imagine that was probably his best game ever, and it was
easily.
It was so enjoyable to watch, even though we lost the game. Like it, I think back to that and just seeing him do step back threes and just hitting 3 after 3, and you love to see it. And honestly, I've always liked Myers Leonard. I just hated the contract we gave him, and it's not his fault. I mean, what are you going to turn down that kind of money just because you know you don't probably deserve that amount? No, you're not going to turn that down. So it's not his fault. But yeah, shout out to Myers Leonard, the Hammer. We loved watching you play. and
Yeah.
enjoy your
Shout out
retirement.
to all the former Blazers. Derrick Jones
Yep.
Jr. has been doing well too.
Yep. There's a lot of former Blazers that are doing pretty well. I don't have anything else, Fawad. Do you?
No, I'm good. That's
Okay.
congrats again on the 100th episode.
Yep. Once again, guys, if you're still listening, thank you guys so much for being a part of this ride and listening and enjoying it with us and being a part of this. So thank you all, Fawad. Thank you, everyone. If you're coming to the Knicks game, once again, make sure just reach out to me. I want to meet you guys. I want to say hi. I want to give hugs. I want to give high fives. Whatever it is, I want to meet you guys. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, Rip City, baby. Thanks to My Life Pursuing for the music used on the intros and the outros of this podcast. You can check them out on all major streaming platforms at My Life Pursuing.